In our study of the Gospel of Matthew, we find us in this video clip in Matthew chapter 10, and verses 17 through 23. I will be reading from the New American Standard Bible. But beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you will be brought before governors and kings for my sake as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they hand you over, do not worry about how or what you are to say, for it will be given you in that hour what you are to say. For it is not you who speak, but it is the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child, and children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. You'll be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who endures to the end who will be saved. But whenever they persecute you in one city, flee to the next. For I truly say to you, you will not finish going through the city of Israel until the Son of Man comes. The disciple. We can put it this way: persecution is not a necessity, but it is a reality. Persecution can be stoked by provocative actions. If you are a Christian in a Muslim country, it is not too difficult to find ways to be provocative. In the secular West, you would probably have to work a bit harder to provoke people to a reaction. Jesus was not calling us to live out the faith in a way that was deliberately provocative. In that sense, persecution is not a necessity, but a reality. A reality in the sense that as Christians, our lives and lifestyles will be different than those around us. You see, what is to be provocative is the way we live, not our actions as such. I think this is important, but a crucial distinction. You see, how we live is to speak to them of a reality that they do not want to embrace. Jesus in verse 21 of Matthew chapter 10 was speaking of a reality he was aware of. In that sense, Jesus was not asking of his followers something he was not willing to do. The difficulty of living the faith out in a non-Christian family or a family in which only a few profess the faith is often compounded by the fact that the family knows who and what you are. They know your weaknesses and your failures. In that case, to be a person who professes to uphold high values may easily be mocked on the basis of what you have done in the past. Jesus knew what it was like to leave his family behind to embrace the call on his life. Jesus knew what it was like to still not have family believe in him. Persecution does not make the church godly. The lack of persecution of the church by the society around it is not a positive. In the middle, somewhere of these two, is where the church should be located. You can look at the news locally or regionally and find churches that are seen as offensive. And that is not what we are talking about here. On the other extremes, if a church is at not times creating waves in its community for its faith, we should have questions about its spirituality. Persecution is like a thermometer. If there's no persecution of the church, then we can say that it is the case because the faith in the church is cold and formal. Persecution that is real and legitimate of the church is a sign that the church is getting the message out and across to the world it is in. Persecution is neither a bad thing nor a good thing. It is just a part of doing church. Persecution is not really the issue. You see, the real issue is that there's always a cost in following Jesus. You see, there is no way you and I can be the people of faith in Jesus Christ and not pay a price for that choice. This is why Christian groups or churches that go out of their way to be persecuted are missing the point. In a country that is relatively open to the gospel, there will still be a personal cost to following Jesus. Now, this will not manifest itself in the way it might in some countries, but it is still there. In Christian countries, often the call to conform to certain standards comes within the church and not so much the world. In fact, if you look at the history of Europe, you can see that some of the biggest persecutors of the church has been the state church or the official churches of an area. Let us be willing to be faithful to him, whatever that costs us.